academy taught me to be very disciplined. The teacher that asks questions is better than the teacher that just like gives you the answer. Your art can be something that makes you not feel your individuality.
So I wanted to start off with your art path. I remember that you got into the art when you were like 14, right? And then I got an art education and then switched from teaching art to creating art yourself. So I was wondering when you were like 14, right? Like how does the 14 like approach art? Were you like figuring out on your own what you like? Were you reading books? Were there some artists you were inspired by?
Well, I think that the major thing that provoked like that actually moved me towards the path of art is the fact that I really enjoy to create and to paint and to draw, and that it was something. It was my little safe room from the craziness of life, and so I thought, you know, I really enjoy that, and I just want to do this for the rest of my life. I just have to find the way of doing it, you know. And so I was very clear about what I wanted to do. Like I have to say that it was easy for me to choose because I wasn't very good at any other thing at school. I was very not like a good student. That also what made me like change. There was like, you know, this trip that the schools do, and they brought us to Florence. And when I was 14, I remember I was so excited walking into these streets full of, you know, history and full of art. And so I thought, wow, I mean, this place is just magical. I just want to spend the rest of my life in places that are like this.
Yeah, it's very relatable. I can see how Florence can like affect the way and like Italy overall in general. So 14, you figured out you want to be like, you know, in the relation, like some sort of relations with art. And then you're going, getting the art education and start teaching art, if I remember correctly, but not like creating art. You work as an illustrator, I think, right? Like for a little bit and then start teaching.
But it was all together. I was for the first back in the 90s when I came to Florence, and I was 19. There was no internet. We didn't know anything about schools, and so you had to go, you know, physically check out the school. And so the first thing that I found, just as an excuse to come over to Florence, it was the an international school of comics, and I did illustration for a couple of years, is where I met my husband. But then I realized that I didn't really like commission so much. I didn't really like the editors to tell me what to do. And I was still young. So I say, you know what, I really want to go to a school that will give me a lot of tools and technical, you know, aspects, because at the end that's what I was looking for. And then I got into the Florence Academy of Art, which is not the regular academy in Florence. The regular academy in Florence is more oriented in contemporary art, in performance and other things. I mean, they have courses, but they're not so structured. So I got into the Florence Academy of Art, and I fell in love with that school because it was such a unique space. Very, you know, I was used in Italy. We are very passionate, and we chat a lot. We do say things a lot. And instead there was, everyone was quiet, like a religious silence, you know. Everyone was so focused on what they were doing. And I fell in love with that school. And I spent, you know, of course, 4 years studying there. But at the same time, I was teaching. Like, you know, I was studying and teaching, so I was paying, you know, half of the tuition with the teaching. And but then, you know, you want to do, you want to paint, right? But at the same time, teaching, it is also such a comfortable thing, because you teach and you earn money, secure money, and it is beautiful to you know, even like I was teaching no more than twice a week. So like the rest of the time I was spending in my studio painting. And it's such a comfortable situation because you have, you know, that connection with people and of the academy. It was a very beautiful and blessing moment of my life. And for 20 years, I did that. And then I did career inside the academy. So at the beginning, I was teaching the beginners, then I did intermediate, and then I became director of the intermediate program. So it was such a career inside the school. But like painting was going together with it. So I was also doing shows and with galleries. I'm sorry, with galleries, and that was my life since almost 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I decided to quit with the teaching in the academy, and just spend the whole time that I have in the studio and preparing shows and doing the full-time artist.
Because I was about to ask that, because I feel like when you're, teaching, as you said, which is also very rare example story like yours, where like, it's very social, right? Like you were teaching, you have like, academy and like students and all of that. And then you're making transition to being an artist, which is first is of course like a very brave move because like a talented artist, but it's like, how do you know how it's going to go? And also it's not that social. So what changed for you like this few years ago when you like, okay, I feel like now it's the time that I'm going to be an artist and dedicate my full time to it?
Yeah, at the beginning, it was I was, full of energy, and a lot of things were happening. A lot of galleries like was calling me and asking me to do shows. So it was um, very strong, the impact. And yeah, the transition was at the beginning was like going up, but then, because, it is like everything basically. Like if you, I think I was so used to have a balanced life, a social life, and a solitary life in my studio that now I have to say that being in the studio, all day long, it's difficult. It is difficult. Sometimes I get a little bit crazy and depressed, especially because it's lonely, like you are lonely all the time. But luckily, I have enough friends that come by, and I have enough friends to go and visit. So that is fine.
Wow.
It is just another thing. I have to get used to it. It's like being born again, basically. As
Yeah.
you said, it was a very brave thing to do, at least from my point of view, because I have a family and I feel very responsible for my family. And so it's a very brave thing, that I wanted to do. And it is difficult. It's just like now I'm at the base of a new challenge, and a challenge, like a challenge in relation to what I'm going to paint, in relation to the galleries that I'm going to, expose to. So like different kinds of galleries, because my art is changing, and also a different kind of life too that I have is on, challenges. And so I have all these challenges right now, and I'm like a little kid that is learning how to walk,
Yeah.
in this new phase of my life. But
Yeah.
it is exciting at the end. Like I'm very happy that I've done this. Now I'd rather, to have these problems to resolve than regret for the rest of my life to not being brave enough to do the jump.
Yeah. No, of course. I was about to say, but I think it's like even more so trickier transition when you like accustomed to like all of like having a certain schedule and activities, and then it's like, new way for you of like exploring how to organize the day. So how do you approach now your day in the studio? Like how do you put yourself into this like condition where you're like, okay, I can like create, I can I don't know, take a walk, do research, or just like sit and like trying to figure out how to
the routine. I think that the academy that I've been to taught me to be very disciplined. So like I need to be in studio early in the morning, and and work until until the afternoon. So basically I go with the sun. When the sun is up, I work. When the sun goes down, I quit. So I work just with natural light, and sometimes if the project requests, of course, with some artificial light, but just because of the subject needs that. But most of the times that's what I do. So like, and yes, like of course I have my walks, but I think that the thing that I resolved a little bit also last year, I spent maybe like a day in the week where I just study, or a day where I just recharge myself by going to another artist studio, or going to a museum, or spending the time to research certain topics, or just studying a different technique like etching, or just like breaking a little bit the week with something that can recharge me. That
Yeah,
helps.
that makes sense. And like when you say you study, so are there mostly like art techniques, like the how to paint, or maybe like some, I know, like movements, or what is it that you help you to get charged to study?
It's not that I'm very good at like organizing my plan of studies, but let's say that it's like a river. I like a topic, and I'm very into psychology, and so like I'm trying to read everything that is related to Freud, to Jung, to anthropology, and then it goes from one branch to another. I'm very passionate about archaeology too, and so my husband work in archaeology, so like we tend to go very often to museums, archaeological museums, and I very love the Etruscan ruins, like the sculptures and all the paintings that has been done during that time. And I think that I'm for many years in the school I was very um, looking for the technical aspect, looking at the 19th century painting, or like the more, like realism. Now I'm kind of gone with, like, I'm happy always to see that, but like they kind of finish the energy for me. Now I really need to find other historical moments that can recharge me. So everything that stimulates my imagination. Like, for example, when you go to an archaeological museum, sometimes you see something and you don't know what it was the use of it, or what kind of godness or god was represented. And so like your imagination start to go now to make up a story. And I think that the make up a story is actually what allows me to connect with, to what I want to paint. So like when I make up a story, that's just probably the story that I want to paint.
Mm. That makes it, yeah, I know it's a complex journey of like how we have an idea to how we release it on canvas. So some of your paintings, actually, like I think like a lot, like recently, they have this like fairy mystique moments. And I was curious, what were you inspired by creating like this? It's kind of like, even I think hard to describe, like this energy of like, yeah, mystique, like
there probably the fact is that I'm very connected to the element of water, and I've had several dreams about river, water passing. And so like I think that for some reason I really wanted to have that. And so I'm like, let's say that my dreams, my imagination, the free associations of my thoughts, sometimes they tends to go there into the water. And so I probably, because it's an element of from where we all born, like and so I think that it is such I think it is also present in a way the maternity. And so I think that is something that I'm aiming for. But don't think that I when I start a painting I rationally have an idea of how it's gonna look like. Sometimes I just start, sometimes it is a very gestural movement on the canvas, because for many years in the past I was very projecting everything, doing the preparatory drawing, choosing the models. And now instead I decided to break from that and start in a new way. So these floating, flying people, these big heads, surrounded by people. These are just like, they don't have a real, let's say, story behind. It is an associations of ideas that brought me to a certain feeling. Because the fact is that the figurative art, or generally the artists, shouldn't express with words, for my opinion, because words, there is people that are very good in explaining with words. There is, writers, actors, they have a vocabulary that can, inspire you, they can, enlighten you. But for me, I'm not that good with words. I'm good with drawing and painting. And so I think that the thing that I want to create with what I have, a feeling, but not that sort of idea that you can frame it with a sentence, something that you cannot really describe, something that remains in you, like with a bit of with a bit of mystery too, no?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because I was thinking, like, as someone who's coming from academia, where like you teach art, and then like when you create, as you describe it, it's very often some sort of like connection channel from whatever universe, I don't know, that like gives you this, the idea of what you're going to create. So do you feel you can see, I mean, not you, but like overall in general, like you can teach someone to create art, to be a great artist? Or is it more like something it just helps to know, but there is no chance you can make a great artist out of?
I don't know if it is. I don't think it is possible to teach to be an artist. Maybe the thing that I noticed when I was a teacher, I noticed that like a lot of students were very interested in the technical and the formula and a simple kind of way of receiving informations, right? And for techniques, it's very good, for learning how to paint in oil or watercolor or whatever, or just representing figures or anatomy. That's good. But when it comes to so that is a sort of grammar, okay? And you can do grammar beautifully, you can write a perfect, beautiful sentence. But to make poetry, then to have something to say afterwards, involves yourself, involves like a work that you do on your deeper side, like, and so I think that you need to face your demon. You need to uh, look inside of you. A lot of people don't want to look inside of themselves, but anyway, for what I've seen, young kids can learn to free out from the rules of the academy. For my opinion, they can free out by having a teacher that, more than teaching them, is more like coach them, like that holds their hands, say, okay, you can do it, try this, try that, but like, keeping it very, very open. I remember with, in my last team, I had Perelov, that it was a great, great art. It is a great artist and a great teacher, to my opinion. He was always asking questions. And I think the teacher that asks questions is better than the teacher that just like gives you the answer, So sometimes I think that like I think that in a imaginary kind of school of that makes artists, I think it would be more like a teacher that, instead of telling the students how to do, it actually asks the students what they want to do, and in that way it can actually extrapolate, and help to help them to find their answers, you know, even if they sound very weird or with no sense. But at the end, you know, finding someone that believes in you is very difficult. So that is also the other thing of the artist. The artist has to believe in himself, because if you don't believe in yourself, it's very, very hard to paint. Like, you know how many times I destroy paintings just because I think, oh, this is a stupid idea, you know, it just like doesn't look right, you know, and you wipe it off. So having that feeling that says, Daniela, even if it's not coming as you planned or as you wanted, but keep going, keep working, you know, finish it, try to accomplish it, you know, having that sort of constance, you know, like that way of organizing your that strength, you know, it is difficult. It is, you need to be strong.
Yeah, no,
And
I totally agree with you. I feel it's like it's a lot of bravery to it, especially when you decide to make it like a full-time career. And again, it's like, you know, that inspiration and research and so many components. So talking about teachers and the mentors, did you have I could, I guess, say mentors while you were studying or later, the one who gave you this like belief in yourself as an artist, or who inspired you to keep following this path?
well, since I was little, I had some teacher that were, you know, um, pushing me towards like an idea of future, you know, like, you are talented, you should do that. Even just like these words, you are talented, you should do this word, this kind of thing. You know, like it puts you in a condition of believing in your abilities, right? Then of course the truth is that there is a lot of work to do, even if you're talented, and so you really have to work hard. Yes, like I had many, but not someone that really deeply changed my life. Maybe more than a teacher, the people that changed, that actually influenced me the most, especially for this, you know, change that I've made lately, are actually few Italian artists, because in the past I was working in the academy, and most of the artists that I got to know, they were from the States. They like, I mean, I have to thank so much, for example, Mark D'Alessio, that he taught me how to paint landscape, we were teaching together for several years. He was very generous, and I think part of my abilities now are related to him, you know, for that thing. But for the major change of more like into the imaginary, I have to thank the people that are here in Italy, like Roberto Ferri, Sishold, Agostina Arrivabene, and I mean these three artists are amazing. They do their very visionary work. They have their own world, and every time I speak to them, they just push me to follow whatever, because I really didn't had many relationship with the Italian artists, and when I met them, like I was really impressed about their work. And I say, you know, like some of your work, I say to Seashield once, I say, some of your work, they look exactly like the dreams that I have, no? And he's like, fuck, you have dreams like these, then paint them. Why are you not painting them? It's like, yeah, you're right. This is stupid, I know, but like it sounds, but for me it had a huge impact, because I probably, you know, sometimes you know that you want to go in a certain direction, but you're not brave enough, or you don't have someone that gives you the license to do it, no? So as soon as I had someone that says, just do it, just do it, I was like, yes, I'll do it.
I was about to say, I feel like dreams is like so often, like to your point, they bring like so much that you wanted to capture, but so often you wake up and you forget. Do you have this practice, like while you're remembering it, how you wake up? Do you write it down? Do you like make a sketch? Like how do you
Yeah,
catch a dream?
not always, not always I remember the dreams, but like if you have the intent to regulate, if you work on it, you know, I think that there is the Jungian school that teach you how to remember them or how to write them. Anyway, I haven't done anything of that. I just I have my book next to my bed, and if in the middle of the night I make a cool dream, I just like wake up and I, write it down or just like record it or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good practice though, like to capture at least on like a voice memo or something. And I wanted to talk a little bit. You mentioned earlier the sun and the light, to talk about your project 365 when you were painting the sunset. So why did you decide to do that? Like how did that come to you?
Yeah, that it was the year of the COVID, 2020, and it was also the year that I turned 40. Uh, uh, I had a little crisis there. No, like I left the school. I wanted to really leave the school. I had my middle age crisis. But so I say, like, since the beginning of the first day of that project was actually my birthday. I say, from now, like, I need to change. From now on, I need to kind of do something that change the way that I live every day. Like first thing in the morning, paint a sunrise. Just even before the coffee, even before washing almost your face. Like I was just with my pajamas. I had my easel next to a window that I see the sunrise. I say, you know what? That's what I will do. Like every morning, before everything, I do that. And I had to say that meditation thing, because if you start your day, meditating, or it is quite of a, or thinking about or doing some yoga or doing something for yourself, then it changes your day. And for me, it was painting a sunrise. And so like I did it for for the whole year. In fact, everyone's like, no, you cheating. You probably you haven't painted every day. And I say, no, I painted every single day, actually. I just missed 3 days when I had COVID. I was very sick. But for the rest, I was, yeah.
That's fascinating. And do you remember or like what changed? So Daniela day one till you like 365 when you're finishing. Do you remember? Was it like a feeling inside that changed, or you were just like, I don't know, the mind, this like new connection? Do you remember that change that you noticed?
I suggest everybody to try to do such a challenge, because at the end you see the things that you have done and you say, wow, I've done all these. It was huge, huge. I like for that gallery in New York that I had to put them on. They were like crazy enough to stick it on the wall, one next to each other, and but 365 like are many little panels, you know. And unfortunately, I couldn't go to see it in person, but the show was amazing. It looked amazing. And so like I was very proud of myself to have, had the strength to accomplish that.
Mm.
And so it definitely changes the idea that you have of yourself. We go back to the same thing now that we were saying before. Sometimes there is the other side of ourselves that always push us down, says, you're not good at that, or
No, absolutely. And I think it's important, like to your point, to see the products, like what you did for a year. And talking about your works, do you have a vision or like, the dream, whatever, like where would you ideally want to see them in like many, many years? Is it like museum, the gallery? I know there are admirers walls. What would it be?
yeah, I mean, if I could make people happy, or just or give them, that chance of feeling the the absence of time. Sometimes when you go in a museum and you're in front of a piece of art that you can experiment the timeless of the thing, and you can feel more connected to the other human beings or the universe, just because at that moment you don't exist anymore, and you're just part of this big thing. So if I can give that feeling to someone, this doesn't matter if the paintings are going to be hanged in a house or in a museum. I mean, of course, the dream of every artist would be to have a place where more people can enjoy what you have dedicated your life to. But to let's see. I don't.
Yeah, I think sometimes maybe like no crazy expectations is the best because you just let yourself to enjoy the path. And what would you say art is for you? Because I feel like you experienced it in such a different forms, like as a teacher, like teaching it, as someone who is creating it. What is art for you now?
Ah, good question. A description of what art is. I think what I told you, art can be something that makes you not feel your individuality in a way. When you enjoy it, when you observe it, when you're in front of it, like, or something that inspires you, something that amazes you. But art can be also a choice of life, like you choose to pursue a certain kind of honesty with yourself, saying, I want to just like every time face myself and change the way that I relate to life. And so I think it is a choice of life. It can be a religion. Art can be many things.
Pretty much everything, like how you live, how you think about things. And say, well, now talking a little bit about artists, if you had like unlimited funds, right? Is there an artwork that you would buy to have it?
This is it's a good question. Maybe the Joanna d'Arc of Lepage, that it is in, I think, in the Musée d'Orsay.
And perhaps like my last question for you is that, so when you face challenges or like feeling down, like what is the thing that keeps you going, that help you to find this way through this feeling or emotion?
I call friends. No, I take the car and I go to some other artists and we complain for, an hour or two about, life, and then I go back and I feel better. If you share the feeling, so sharing the feeling with other artists, the friends, it's a good thing.